I have a question for you. If you had the opportunity to make this world a better place, would you? Well, let's see. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon to my global audience. Walter Cotton here, launching the Abilitytoo movement. It's taken me the better part of 3 months to go through a post-mortem and identify the solution that you need in order to take advantage of the greatest wealth transfer to ever hit these United States of America. I'm using this particular presentation to give you a complete view of the opportunity that's before you, as well as the tools that you can use to take advantage of it. So without any further ado, let me acquaint you with the rule of law that is in place right now that empowers you with the ability to make a demand call against virtually any federal contract. And without further ado, let me jump right into it. And this effort is not going to be all glitzy and glamorous like you're accustomed to, because my objective here is basically to give it to you straight, no chaser. Hit you on the one, like James Brown said. You all know me, those of you who have been following me for years, as the guy who decoded the complex arena of small business contracting by developing a solution that maximizes the joint venture business model that allows you to take your preference, commingle it with the capability and capacity of an existing contractor to create a contract viable, or should I say, to instantly create a contract viable entity. That ability is based on 4 provisions of law and policy, which include the first one that you see on the screen, which basically says all requirements under the simple acquisition threshold are reserved for small businesses. To say it in a way that laymen would understand it, any contract that the government is trying to set up that's under the $250,000 figure is reserved for small business award. The second bullet or policy says specifically to the contracting officer that before they can do a full and open competition, they must do market research to eliminate the existence of small business. And this next bullet says to the contracting officer that in the event that they identify small businesses that can deliver the service or product at a responsible and responsive price, the contracting officer must set the business aside for small business competition. But this last bullet, this last provision of law says to the contracting officer that in the event that they make that set aside decision and only one of those small businesses responds, they must award that contract to the responding small business, ultimately creating a superpower that takes advantage of some efforts that I have put in to create legislation that move the contracting field in the federal space from an equality space to an equity space for people who wear my social uniform, ultimately empowering you with the ability to make a demand call against the federal government's inelastic spend. That's it, folks. That's it, simply in a nutshell, the opportunity that's before you, that's connected to a superpower that is inalienable. No one can take it away from you. But I'm here to sound an alarm that is based on your need to take advantage of this opportunity while the rule of law is still in place. And I'm saying that with a full and deep-throated voice because based on the shenanigans that we've seen over the past 12 months, there's no guarantee that these firm rules of law that you're looking at now will be in place tomorrow. Ergo, it is incumbent upon you to get your feces amalgamated to take advantage of what I've identified to be a more than $300 billion wealth transfer. And I'll quantify that for you in a future episode. I may even quantify it for you a little bit during this episode. But in this season, it's not important enough for you to know the information that I shared with you. And you've heard me say this before. In this season, it is absolutely critical that you have the know-how to execute against that market opportunity. The rule of two to rule of one is the most underutilized superpower in federal contracting by large contractors. Here's how it works. Irrespective of what agency you're working with, every federal agency contracting officer is required to perform what's known as market research when they're going through their acquisition strategy development effort. In the event that they identify 2 or more small businesses in the nation that can do the work, by law, they must set the contract aside for exclusive competition between those small businesses. In 2019, a smart contracting officer asked the question, what happens if only one of the small businesses responds? The answer, the contracting officer must award. Ergo, the superpower of one. Let me start this next segment by giving you a little bit of information, a little bit of background on the individual that you are listening to. And it's important for you to have this information because you got to know who the people are that are providing you with the guidance that you are listening to and whether or not they have a pedigree to I guess give you information that's going to be actionable. And as it relates to me, if you want to find out who I am and what my background is, I would simply ask you to surf out to my LinkedIn profile, which I'm taking you to right now. And here on my LinkedIn profile, I'd like you to go down to this featured section where you can get a 1-minute video that tells you everything that you need to know about Walter Cotton. But this obscure area here is an area that I'd like you to pay attention to because that's going to give you some background on who Walter Cotton is. And you need to know that I'm not some Johnny-come-lately in this contracting arena, right? I've been doing this for the better part of 2 decades. And in that 2-decade time period, I have helped thousands of people achieve generational wealth. But the reason that I'm bringing you to these articles that I wrote back in the day is because, it's one thing for a person to hit a ball in a game of pool and it to hit 4 or 5 cushions and wind up in the pocket and that person declare themselves the winner. It's another thing for the individual to call the shot. And in this instance, as I did with the disabled veteran joint venturing strategy that allowed that community to move the needle in contracting to well north of $19 billion, I'm calling the shot on a $300 billion wealth transfer. And we're going to use the same language that I left back in 2015, right? This article that I'm sharing with you is an article that I wrote in 2015 when I was going through the process of transitioning from my advocacy role in helping the disabled veteran business community to my role of setting up my boutique consulting firm. And what this article basically says to my contemporaries who I was leaving in charge of the disabled veteran small business advocacy arena, it said to them basically, guys and girls, please don't major in the minor things. And specifically what I said in this article, and let me open this up and look at you while I say this. What I said in this article was, let me open it all the way. I said to the disabled veteran business community that I thought it was an error for them to focus so much attention on Public Law 109461, which ultimately resulted in the Kingdomware Supreme Court case, which we won, right? I felt that there was a opportunity that we were overlooking to take advantage of the SBA's decision to finally take some legislation that I wrote into law and create or deliver a government-wide program. The legislation that I wrote into law was the foundation of the All Small Business Mentor Protege program. And for those of you who are fact checkers, you can go back to the Jobs and Credit Act of 2010, where you'll clearly see that I wrote language in there to expand the affiliation exemption in the 8A Mentor Protege program for veteran, disabled veteran, and women-owned businesses. Now, you can't write good legislation without someone wanting to piggyback on it, which was the case in this situation. And SBA grabbed that language and they worked with it for the better part of, I guess, 3 or 4 years to create a all small business mentor protege program to make that capability available for minority as well as non-minority enterprises. The good news was that the affiliation exemption was now liberally available for all small businesses. And I was trying to get my contemporaries' attention to say to them, listen, guys, if you don't focus, and girls, some attention on this, we may find ourselves somewhere down the road with a new dilemma. Well, here we are, right? Let's fast forward to 2021 and let's look at the advantages we achieved because of our focus on Public Law 109461 or the potential disadvantages. We achieved the decision in the Supreme Court, which the VA immediately ignored in the MedSurg Prime Vendor Contract Award. And for those of you who remember that particular saga, that one was so egregious and so in our face that they took an illegal action of not only assigning prime vendors, right, to this particular contract that weren't service disabled veterans, but what they did was they allowed the prime contractors to make the source of supply selection. For those of you who are not contracting aficionados, that is a wholly illegal process. In the contracting arena, especially as it relates to government procurements, it is the obligation of the federal government to set pricing. By utilizing the approach that the VA allowed, the prime vendors were the ones that were setting the pricing decision with the subcontractors, which would have been veterans and disabled veterans for the most part. And that was an illegal action. The point that I'm making is that here we are again, fast forward to 2021, and now there is major discussion about the Veterans Administration going through a BRAC-like process. And those of you who don't know what BRAC is, that's the base realignment process that they went through about a decade ago when they closed down several of the military bases across the country. That same initiative, that same commission is looking at whether or not they should close down veteran hospitals. Why is that important? It's important because in tandem with this BRAC commission, we have the Mission Act, which creates a HMO like product for veterans. And why this becomes of interest to you who may be a contractor that's focused in the Veterans Administration is because the older veterans have an affinity for the VA hospital system. They don't mind using the VA hospital system. The younger veterans see the VA hospital system as substandard, and therefore they prefer to go to traditional hospitals. So if you look at what that system is going to produce as it matures, as the older veterans pass away, as they die and move on, and you have less of a population to be supported by the VA hospital, right? More of the cost, more of the spend is going to transfer over to the Mission Act. Ergo, we won't need as many VA hospitals. And when they pull the VA healthcare, they pull the VA hospital component out of the system. All of you vendors that are relying on the VA for your business continuation, you can kiss it goodbye. It's not going to come back again. Therefore, I said to our contemporaries that we would be better served by doing what I'm encouraging everyone within the sound of my voice to do today. And that is to take a closer look at the disruptive ability that results from your expanded understanding of the affiliation exemption, your expanded understanding of how you utilize strategic alliances and joint venturing as capacity builders within the federal space. So there you have it, folks. Very simply put, if you take those 4 provisions of law and you add them together with your advanced knowledge, right, of how you utilize joint ventures, you have the key to wealth generation. But as I said a moment ago, in this season, it's not important enough for you to know what exists out there. It's not important enough for you to know the terms of art and the legislation front to back. What's important in this season is that you have the know-how. You have the know-how to take this information and make it actionable. And to help facilitate that particular effort, drum roll, please. What I have done is I have created a community of practice that is known as the Abilitytoo community of practice. Now, this is a enhancement on the My MPU network. And the reason that I had to go through an enhancement is because the My MPU network asset did not afford me the ability to give you the tools that you need to be effective. So, here it is, the Abilitytoo network, which includes all of the resources that you need to be successful. So, first of all, I like the fact that, and I'm just going to compare the MPU network, and I'm a little proud of this, that we were able to go out and secure an asset that gives you all of the functionality that you may be familiar with in conventional networks. All of that capability is here, right? This is your landing page where you can find out what all of the members are doing, recent events, articles, and the like. You have a people, of course, the member section where you can go and find the members. There is an event section, and I want to bring this one to your attention because it's here where you can participate in the ongoing strategic steering sessions that I coach on a weekly basis. And between now and the 26th, which is the 26th of April, when the orientation for the network is going to happen, I'm going to provide pop-up Q&As, and you'll have to come to the network to see what dates they're scheduled for. The first one is scheduled for the 19th, and I'm defining this as the Ask the Alchemist event. This is your opportunity to ask any pressing question that you have about business or about federal contracting, and I guarantee you that those questions will be answered in a complete fashion. The network also provides you a forum where you guys can communicate with each other. There are groups, and this is a brand new asset. So I'm kind of running through this because my people are still going through the process of populating it in the background, but you have one location that you can come to get news on all of the federal contracting or policy issues that are important to your success. And then ultimately, we have a contracting opportunity area here, which is where we will post the contracting opportunities that you can contact the individual who set it up to become a member of their team and ultimately subcontract with them. So contracting opportunities, we got membership portfolio. The portfolio. This is the place where you deliver your capability statement so that members of the network can find out what you can offer, and you can also use this to advertise it to prospective customers. Of course, if you go to my portfolio within this arena, this is where you're going to find the comprehensive training on the cotton method, right? This is the methodology that you would use to capture federal contracts. And allow me to get back to that thing, because you need to recognize that all of the tools that you need to be successful are already resident in this particular area, right? Including all of the instructor-led videos that you need to learn everything that you need to know about federal contracting. And I'm gonna, just open this one up and give you an example of, how you go to it. But, again, it's user driven, so that you can go through this stuff at your own pace. And the reason that I'm sharing all of this information with you is because people come to the network, they come to the front page, they see the warning, and they run away. And I'm going to open this up and look at you when I say that, because I want this to be a cautionary tale. If you're not ready for this particular opportunity, I'm asking you not to join. I'm asking you not to join because it's going to be a waste of your good time. In this particular arena, we're working with those economic warriors that are ready for prime time. So again, if you're not ready, there are many other preparatory steps that you can take, but don't join this family if you're not ready for the opportunity that's at hand. And the reason that I'm saying that is because we're going after thorough business here, right? We're not going after ghetto digits. So as an example, we focus on the contracts that are expiring from the federal government. So in this area, we have a tool that allows us to go out and find the federal contracts that are coming up for recompete and utilize the superpower that is learned in this system to go and capture them. And I'll give you a quick example of it in the arena that I'm targeting, which happens to be the wireless space. But very simply put, I can come to this particular solution, an asset that's within the network. I can go and tell this solution that I want it to bring me back all of the wireless contracts, right? All of the next codes that are of interest to me that are expiring in the next 48 months, so that I can see what my market opportunity looks like. And when I tell the system to go out, search, and bring me back that information, drum roll, please, what it delivers back to me is a list of all of the contracts that are coming up for recompete in my area of interest. And this top 10 contractor list becomes of immediate importance to me because it says there's over $327 million worth of contracts coming up in DOD. There's also 117 million that are coming up for recompete in VA. And since I'm a disabled veteran, that's of extreme interest to me. So like you would, or like you should, I'm going to drill into that number so that I can see a little bit more about this $117 million. Specifically, I want to see who owns that $117 million. And I'm going through this exercise for your edification because I've obviously already done this, but what I did was I found out that there were two companies, AT&T and T-Mobile, which own the lion's share of that $117 million that's coming up for recompete within the Veterans Administration. And so what I'm doing now is I'm drilling into AT&T's $62 million worth of contracts with the Veterans Administration. Okay, so here's the AT&T results, and if I drill through the AT&T results to get to the MADI data, what we see here is that we have a requirement that and this is a component, one of the task orders under the VA contract that AT&T owns. But if I click this link right here, it actually takes me to the originating contract language, right? Which lets me know that this particular contract has an ultimate completion date, as I said, of November of 2022. And the obligation on this side of the contract is 71 million. I could take you back to the T-Mobile side of the, excuse me, of this equation to show you the other side that makes up the 160 plus $1 million VA contract opportunity that's coming up for recompete. Suffice all of that to say that within our community of practice, right, within our environment, we already own an asset that provides us with access to the information that you all need to make a proactive decision about the contract opportunities that you go after. And again, in our system, we don't go after speculative requirements, right? We're not after those requirements that may come out and may be awarded. You wait on Beta Sams to issue a solicitation and then you respond to it. In our system, we are actually going after the marrow, right? We're not going after the bone. We're going after the marrow of the federal government spending, which actually represents that business that the government needs to operate on a year in and year out basis. So let me suffice this to say, and let me bring this to a close by pointing your attention to a very basic set of facts. One, this is your invitation to get out of the mustard if you wish and catch up. But I am delivering a cautionary tale to those of you who are excited or get inspired by this information to make sure that you're ready for prime time before you click the request an invitation button. This program is not for neophytes. It's not for those of you that are out there faking it till you make it, or you're stuck on some colonizer approach to doing business. This system is for those of you who are sick and tired of being sick and tired and are open to an easy button that allows you to take inalienable rights that you own, right, that are empowered by the existing rules of law and use it to build generational wealth for your family. But in order to accomplish that mission, in order to accomplish that outcome, we have to do things in a certain way. As my big sister would say, we have to do it decent and in order. And that is what the Abilitytoo movement is designed to produce. It's designed to produce an orderly approach to a more than $300 billion wealth transfer. And this is not something that I'm promising to you. This is something that I'm asking you for an opportunity to prove to you, right? I've already done this to the $19 billion degree, so my pedigree in this area precedes me to this conversation. I'm suggesting to you that if you are one of the people that I define as ready for prime time, you're one of my economic warriors, there's no better place for you to be than in the community of practice that is the Abilitytoo movement. And now is the time, because I can't sound this alarm loud enough. This is a point in time opportunity that you have to take advantage of while the robust rule of law is still in effect. I'm going to let that one sit there, because over the coming weeks, the significance of that statement is going to resonate with you. And I don't want you to be late. I don't want you to be one of those that are in the last days and times of this particular opportunity, ringing my phone or spamming my email with the Mr. Cotton, I really want to take advantage of this opportunity. Be an early adapter. Go out to the network, register today. Join me for one of the Ask the Alchemist sessions so that you can get your questions answered. But by all means, do something, because it's your opportunity to acquire the knowledge, tools, and resources necessary to put yourself in a position to self-determine. My interest is in helping you accomplish that goal. And let me answer the $64 million question that I get asked from time to time, and I know is resonating in the minds of the people that talk to me. And that is, why are you doing this, Walter? Right? What's in it for you? And I can only explain it in a very simple sentence. I'm compelled to do it. For whatever reason, I have a burning desire to take this blessing that's come through me and make sure that everyone who has ears to hear hears it. Everyone who has eyes to see can see it. And those that have the will, those that have the testicular fortitude necessary, can take full advantage of it. Sometimes I see myself as that Richard Dreyfuss character, for those of you who are old enough to remember the movie Close Encounters of the Third or Second Kind. But in that movie, the Richard Dreyfuss character was obsessed about this terrain. He was so obsessed about this piece of terrain that he actually cleared all of the furniture out of his living room and bought a bunch of mud and dirt into his home to reconstruct this mountain. And what it turned out, or the mountain turned out to be, was the location that the extraterrestrials were going to arrive at. And Richard was one of the early adopters that the ETs had communicated with. And I'm not suggesting that the ETs are communicating with me in this situation, but what I am telling you is that for the past 20 years, the better part of 2 decades, I have had this insatiable desire to make sure that people who wear my social uniform have access to this information that I have been blessed to find my way to. So I am fulfilling against the charge that I have been given to make sure that you have easy and ready access to this information. But I'm going to put a cherry on top of this season, because in the previous season, I was the coach. I was the teacher. I was the one that said, go get one for the Gipper, run harder, go do laps around the pool. In this season, I'm not only going to be your coach, I'm not only going to be the advisor, the guide that points you in the direction, but I'm also going to be a player in this season. And what I mean by that is I can't see an opportunity that's as robust as this and not take advantage of it myself. So I'm actually standing up an enterprise of my own in one of those novel industry areas that I'm telling you that we have access to. And I'm doing that so that I can use it as a case study that you can follow as an example of how to implement, how to employ the system that I've developed. So let me say that another way so that you can smell what I'm cooking. Those of you who are interested in taking advantage of this new approach to wealth generation, not only are you going to have the opportunity to get the system at no cost, because you get the system as a part of your membership, but you're also going to have an opportunity to follow the nation's subject matter expert as he provides you an example. He provides you as a step-by-step, he provides you with a step-by-step how to employ the system. All right, let me bring this one to a close, because I know we're going to be doing this in the next few months on a consistent and ongoing basis. And it's going to be what it's going to be, right? I'm going to do what I need to do to make sure that you have the information that you need to be successful. And I'll be honest with you, let me be transparent and candid with you. One of the realizations that I came away from our last season together, one of the realizations that I understood was that I wasn't radical enough with this information. I wasn't radical enough with this solution that's before you. This time, I'm not going to make that mistake. If you're ready for this opportunity, I have open arms and I have enough capacity within that network to accept you, to receive you. If you're not ready for this particular opportunity, I am going to tell you to avoid it like the plague, because I'm not ruthless, but you will get the boot if you are useless. Until next time, this is Walter Cotton saying, I'm out. Welcome to the Abilitytoo movement. You have one of three options. You can subscribe, request an invitation, or log in if you're a returning member.